Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Man, do we have a lot to talk about in the UFO world. We had to make a little bit of a shift tonight. Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications will join us in hour one. Terry Hall, the SOR Insider, will join us as well. And we got a lot going on here momentarily. But first, just like Brucey Bruce says, you always got to say hello to the public. And we're going to say hello to everybody out in the chat room tonight. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Michael Morris taking home the silver. Laura Lobbs with a nice bronze medal tonight. Hi, Luscious Jules and Roy Boy. Jessica Brown Dwarf and Kurt M. Good to have you here. Samantha Hazelwood Gray and Black Dragon. Black Dragon's back. He will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio for the former Marine. To the left of the studio. Dogface Simon and Sweet Robbie G. How you doing from the Social Dig? And Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. How are you? D. Cohen, thanks for coming on in. Jimmy Gonzalez, what's happening, man? Lee the B and Val SWPA, what's happening? Good to see you. Paramarv, Justin Hemmingson, good BC boy right there. And let's see here. We got number 26 in your program, starting at right wing tonight from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. He potted 32 goals last year, just so you know. 32 goals. All right, moving on. Noble Patrick, Millennium, my man, Chillgasm, D. Cypher, Human Carl, not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you, man. Just another guy named Harry, Cat the Kit, what's happening? And Saul, welcome to SOR Chat. Rose Brooks, Nina Williams, Richard Elmore, Scott Rosen. Scott Rosen will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Nancy Thames, best name on YouTube. Dry Toast, there he is. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Sir Pent and Reality, how are you? Well, Pixie Lara. And who else do we have here? Linda B, President Zaddy, F.U. Zaddy. You know how it goes. How you doing, my man? Emmy Tong, how are you? Eternal Eternity and Eternity Eternal. How are you? And scrolling on down, we got Doc from Wyoming after a visit. Where the hell have you been, Doc from Wyoming? Haven't seen you in a while. Raven Creek Farms, W. David Page. How's it going, guys? Sweet Donna Spencer. There she is. She's showing off a little leg tonight, just so you know. From Thailand, Greg Maloney. How you doing, buddy? Draculto Khan. What's happening, man? Your name screws me up every time. Gizmo and Thomas Rock. And Jonathan Sims. Welcome to SOR Chat. Evan Walters, you're already pissing me off and the show hasn't started. But that's good. You're pissed off because your car broke down. All right. I hate when that happens. We got about a minute to go here, and we are just getting ready to load up here because we got a hell of a show for you tonight. Man, if you've seen the mess in the UFO world going on, we're going to talk about it here. Terry Hall is here. Little Brucey Bruce Claggett is here as well. Everybody, when Bruce comes on the screen, do me a favor. Just type in high five in the chat room. Okay? Type in high five because Bruce and I go way back. And he's one of my best friends. And a journalism expert, if there ever was one. We're going to learn something tonight. I always learn from him. Pyromedic, how you doing? And in the Spreaker chat room, we have Bill WD40 lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, if you know what I'm talking about. You always got to be lubed up for any occasion. Emmy Tong, how are you? Super crazy. What's going on? Thanks for coming on in. And the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And of course, our store is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Go get your SOR swag. I promise you, you will look good in it. Better than I do, because I have a face for radio. That's never a pretty thing. So, 15 seconds. Jeff Adams, how are you? David Devine broadcasted. How you doing? Thanks for coming on back. And we got 8 seconds left. I need a favor from each and every one of you. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by listening to Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show of information tonight as Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications talks journalism and UFOs, along with our SOR insider, Terry Hall. He will join us momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we are going to be joined by Steve Stockton from Among the Missing with another crazy, spooky story. Then little Timmy Senor, our resident Timbit, has the UFO reports. Bruce Claggett has been a journalist in Vancouver, British Columbia for more than 30 years. He's the head of BFC Communications and is formerly a journalism instructor at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. There is not a thing this gentleman doesn't know about the proper etiquette and how stories are created for journalism. Terry Hall is behind the scenes of SOR. He is one of our insiders when it comes to everything to do with UFOs and strange recon that needs to be done. He's probably got the best mustache in ufology as well. And we always like to point out good facial here. We got to get right into it, because for those who don't know, there's been an ugly story in the last 48 hours here in ufology. And it comes from a report out of The Intercept, an online news publication, where reporter Ken Klippenstein, he literally, I don't know if you would call it attacked or if he demoralized or whatever you call it, whistleblower David Grusch, going into his health records to break a story that maybe Grusch shouldn't be trusted. Why? Because apparently he was an alcoholic. Apparently he was nearly violent around his wife, and he spent some time in a psychiatric facility. But is this ethical enough? This is why I wanted to get right to the heart of the matter for the next hour with Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications and Terry Hall. He is our resident SOR insider. Bruce, thank you so much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio again.
It's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. I am so glad to be here. And you know why I'm glad to be here, Dave? It's a chance for me to be super honest and super real, because you ask great questions. And I'm always going to give you the honest answer, not the politically correct answer necessarily, but I'm going to be completely honest and pull back the curtain for you.
Well, I always appreciate that. And, for, journalism purposes, you and I are very good friends. We're best friends. and have been for almost 20 years. But you are somebody who, when I have questions about journalism and ethics and where to go with a story, you're the person I call. You're my insider, not on UFOs, because you're not a UFO expert, but you're a journalism expert. And
Yeah.
when I need advice on that, I want my audience to know you're the man I call.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for the call. And it seems like there's plenty of reasons to call because journalism, so-called journalism, whatever that is, it spans so many different things nowadays. But there are a lot of questions when it comes to ethics and doing things the right way.
Okay, so Terry Hall, we want to say hello to you tonight. And, even though our radio audience cannot see it, your handlebar mustache is looking absolutely fantastic, buddy.
Thank you. Beard's looking fantastic. Pleasure to meet you, Bruce.
Oh, pleasure to meet you.
And
I'm glad Dave's got you on tonight because that's something rolling around in my head. We'll get to here in a little while.
Okay, Terry.
all right, we've only got Bruce for this first hour because he's got the 2 o'clock wake up call for Vancouver radio, and that's always the ugly shift that nobody wants.
It
except
is.
Bruce.
It
But
is.
let's get right to it, Bruce.
Yeah.
Ufology has been, over the last few years, a real mixture. We've talked about this regarding the ethics and the way stories were presented, people trying to push a narrative on media that really didn't want to cover this subject. And I know from the outside looking in, you are a fan of this topic, even though you don't cover it on a daily basis or even a monthly basis. But this latest story, I came to you earlier today regarding David Grusch, a whistleblower who came out working for the UAPTF, talking a lot of big time news that should have been worldwide headline news about government cover-ups of UFOs and alien bodies that he was seeing the notes on. Talking about how him and his wife have been threatened by government officials and intelligence community officials, never mind the military. This is a scared man right now who's hiding behind the media and his lawyer. And yet here comes this reporter named Ken Klippenstein from The Intercept, an online publication. And Klippenstein is an admitted non-believer of UFOs. He thinks this is an absolute garbage subject. He thinks this is a subject that we shouldn't be wasting airtime or print time on with little green men or little fireflies in the sky. Okay. And he puts out a tweet the other day saying, good or bad, and I'm paraphrasing here, I want to talk to people who know David Grusch. And he put his phone number in the tweet. Next thing you know, this article comes out regarding David Grusch's health records that he allegedly picked up while doing a FOIA request with I believe it was the Maryland Health Services or the Maryland Police or one of those states, Virginia, in that area of Washington, D.C. Okay. And he releases it in a story saying basically we shouldn't trust David Grusch and we should question his morals and authority because he has PTSD from his time in Afghanistan. He has suffered, as soon as he got back from Afghanistan, his best friend took his own life due to PTSD. He started drinking heavily. Apparently, when he started drinking, he became very belligerent, argumentative, never violent, but threatened violence, including to himself, to his wife, which his wife eventually called the police on, okay, because he was asking his wife to finish him off. And Grusch then allegedly was arrested and brought in for mental health issues. But he never, and even spent time in a psychiatric facility to get his head clear. But he never lost his security clearance. He still worked for the federal government in the UAP task force. He still had his security clearance. He still honored his NDAs and was an employee until recently, within the last couple of years. So this story about Klippenstein is the big news right now, because he is taking a lot of abuse online. I don't know the man as a journalist, but I'm curious your thoughts. I've given you a lot to go with here, Bruce,
Yeah.
on the direction of journalism and the way this has been handled.
Well, I'll take it and I'll run with it. But the first thing here is hearing this story, and I don't know the players involved, but I think you outlined everything here pretty factually. And I've got to say that I'm dismayed, I'm disheartened, and I'm more than a little bit concerned when I hear that there are people out there that will take a mental health issue and make it an issue. You wouldn't do that with cancer and demonize somebody. You wouldn't do it with other issues. Not only is it personal and none of his goddamn business, excuse my language, but it's also something that is just not appropriate. You just don't do that. It's highly personal, and it does nothing to really reflect any credibility or non-credibility on who this person is. Mental health is real. And get this, David. If you were like, let's be really honest here. If you were to take the same thing, PTSD, and somebody that's got mental health issues, but paint them in the light of a hero, a firefighter, or somebody that's got insight into something, you would use that in a whole different light. And that speaks volumes to just how this is being twisted and tainted. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's not journalistic practices, accepted journalistic practices, and it should never happen.
Okay, why is delving into somebody's health not an accepted form of journalistic practice?
Yeah, it is actually yellow journalism, Dave. What you're doing is you're taking very personal issues and deflecting away from what the person's talking about. You may not like what they're saying. You may not find any credibility in what they're saying. But, you know, the world is an open forum for discussion, and that's not part of the discussion. Who doesn't have things in their past? Mental health issues. I've had mental health issues. I have no problem talking about them, but many people don't want to talk about those, and that's their business. And in a world where we are more open and honest about what that actually means, I think we have to give some credibility to this guy away from his past experiences and just take for what he's saying, take that to issue or not take it to issue.
Okay, so what the argument is that's going on in YouTube land right now and on Twitter and especially or X,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, is finally we got some hardcore digging journalism into this guy. And what set Klippenstein off was apparently every time he heard somebody talk about David Grusch, they always called him a decorated war hero. Decorated war hero. And for some reason that rubbed him the wrong way that nobody was looking into what is the other side of this guy's story. And he wanted to say good or bad, Bruce. I wanted to find out. Okay, so there's a lot of people out there who are saying, I think it's great journalism that we learned this about David Grusch because they put him up on a pedestal like a poster boy for ufology, that he was going to be the new face of disclosure. And yet here we are, lambasting him for having mental health issues.
Which means what? He's not a decorated war hero? Show me one decorated war hero that honestly does not have some mental health issues.
Our Apollo astronauts were openly admitted alcoholics. I mean,
Yeah.
they even made a Seinfeld show, I believe, that Buzz Aldrin appeared on. And he said, I'm glad your mother didn't marry me because I was a raging alcoholic. I mean, in jest, they even said it.
In some lights, that is seen as something that just is conversation. In other lights, it's seen as highly inappropriate, but it does not matter. What matters is their expertise and their ability to do the job now.
Well, let me take it to the other side of this real quick. What I was thinking about, Dave, is not only are they attacking the man, but they're going after the people who helped him bring his story forward, which was Ross Coulthart, Jeremy Corbell, and George Knapp. But I was thinking about this earlier. Who else is he supposed to come to with this to get it brought out on a national stage? It's not like he can go to the Post or the Washington Post or something. Nobody will take him seriously.
No, and I think you bring up a good point, Terry. That I mean, this is a gentleman who has been quiet around the UFO field for the last year or so, and didn't come out as a whistleblower until about 6 months ago. We started hearing rumors of this whistleblower. Then it finally blew up a couple of months ago when he spoke in front of Congress. Bruce, I want to bring you back in here for a
Yeah.
second because we have you for a limited amount of time tonight. Journalism is something that is supposed to be unbiased down the middle. Unfortunately, I think the last 20 years you would agree with me that it's become more infotainment and holy cow, how do I feel, rather than telling the stories down the middle. And you and I have had many private conversations about the decay of such a great career that is needed for humanity. Okay, and here we are in such a a strange topic where everybody loves talking about UFOs, but nobody actually wants to admit that they're a fan of these types of conversations, especially in journalism. So, I mean, when you have somebody step out into the forefront like this, I mean, uh, there isn't a lot of ethics that follow this kind of crowd because there's government stories being played, there's narratives being played, there's people jousting for inside information. How does this kind of look at the I guess what I'm asking is how does this look at the other side of journalism from what you're used to when you look into the world of ufology where it just seems to be anarchic?
Well, what is the role of a journalist? I think you got to get that down to what we're talking about. Um, and unfortunately, with journalism, and especially with social media, where in the last 10, 20 years, you have everyone calling themselves a journalist, and perhaps they are, but a journalist traditionally, a real journalist does what? They journal, they observe, they document, they report. And using their journalistic expertise, they may look into and question some of the things that they see to bring up more questions, more journaling, more observing, and more documenting. The essence of what a good journalist is, in my opinion, is someone who is really curious and can keep an open mind and say, hey, there are people out there that are saying this. Why are they saying this? Why are they observing things? Can I observe? Can I see some data? Can I start talking about it too? And if you follow that line, there should be no problems with UFOs and journalism. I think where you get into a bit of a problem is some journalists see themselves as having a little bit of this credibility problem and get very self conscious about it and start to worry about their own reputations. A lot of them have made it into the spotlight because of things like how they look on camera or who their friends are. And some really are not great journalists. Now, that being said, there is a difference between a journalist and an editorialist, a columnist, an opinion writer, and all of those are important in the media, but they are asked for their opinions and they come on as such. So when you get somebody like a talk show host, and I do that, I fill in, I'm filling in tomorrow morning. Reason why I can only be with you for a short period of time is that you get people that are paid to have opinions. And some of those people are people that have come up through journalism, have had journalistic credibility, and go on to be opinion givers. And that's fine. But the public has to be educated and really know the difference between those who are opinion offerers and those who are journalists.
Okay, so what if somebody says, look, when you put your face in the public eye, whether you're a politician, whether you're a whistleblower, whether you're a movie star, a professional sports athlete, a musician, okay, when you put yourself out there, you have to be prepared for anything. You got to be prepared for anything and everything to come out about you because people are going to be looking at you in every direction. I mean, this is ufology, man. I don't see it being as important. Like, or they will say, Bruce, you know, we've heard these stories before where a reporter will say, such and such a politician who's been mayor of the city for 35 years has cancer. What's the
Yeah.
difference between that and what happened with David Grusch?
Well, it comes down to what do people really want to know, and what is a story? What is worth following and covering? And also, what type of journalism are you doing? Are you a journalist for TMZ, which focuses on quite often the very private lives? That's why people go there for entertainment and private lives. Or are you a journalist with the New York Times? You've got to ask yourself, what is the audience? What is the lane that you're driving in? And for most journalists that I have ever worked with, it's been credible news. And I only mean credible news in the sense that it is news that is not looking into the private lives of somebody. It's not an audience that's looking for the titillation of what may be out there. And to cross over from one area into another, I don't know. That just gives me the icky feeling. I wouldn't do it. Our own prime minister separating from his wife. That's a really good question. Was that news? I don't know. I think maybe reporting it as, guess what? Your leader has just separated. That's in the public interest. And maybe leave it there. So maybe there's one story in it and it's only so deep. And you don't have to go any further into who he's dating and why.
Well, I think you bring up a very good point there with, being Canadian, you're Canadian, I'm Canadian, and with Prime Minister Trudeau, I may not be a fan of the man, but you know what? If he's divorcing his wife, that's none of my business. That's a personal issue with him. I don't think we need reports on, like TMZ type reports where we're going to get into the dirt of it all
No,
and what happens with the custody of the children. How much is he paid per month in child support
exactly.
and all that? I don't see that being profitable for the story at hand and the job that he does at hand. That being
Insofar as how much it affects that job. And if it's because of something in his personal life that actually should be known to the public, perhaps there is a reason. But in this case, I very much doubt that that's the situation. And it becomes news only because people are curious and want to blind flick at their neighbors. Pull up the blinds and take a look and see what's happening. And we don't need blind flickers. We need people that really want to find out the truth about things that matter to them.
And I would agree with that, Bruce. And when we come back after the break here, Terry, I promise you we're going to get a lot more from you here tonight.
Oh no, I'm fascinated. I could listen to Bruce all night long, honestly.
I could listen to Terry all night long.
I could listen to both of you all night long, and I hope our radio audience can too, because we are going to talk more about the journalistic side of UFOs. How should this be covering it? Are we doing a good job? Is News Nation doing a good job with their coverage of UFOs? Because that's been their ratings breaker, and their ratings star is the UFO topic. Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications out of Vancouver, British Columbia, is with us, and SOR insider Terry Hall. Has ufology gone mad? Some may say so. I might even say so. But you know what? We're going to talk about it in the next hour, right here on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio's second half hour returns right after this. All right, we're clear.
Excellent.
That's a good start. Good manly start.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
You're looking good.
I spent a couple of days in Whistler. My daytime job, there was a conference there that I had to attend to with my boss. And so I'd missed the last couple of nights on the air.
Oh yeah.
And and then so we're back on tonight. I'm really excited actually because my ghost tours at the 108 Mile Ranch Heritage Site restart tomorrow after 3.5 years off.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I'm excited to head back to the museum, and I'll be going there tomorrow after in the afternoon to try and have a little talk with the ghosts, ask them to come out and perform for us, and kind of go from there. So I'm very, very excited. Very excited about that. And I'm doing a special Halloween event there, Halloween night.
Oh.
And it already sold out, dude.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah. And I don't know, you've driven by it. I know you've driven by it.
Oh yeah, many a time.
We got this, huge Clydesdale barn with Clydesdale horse stalls right at the bottom level of it, probably about 15 stalls. The people who are going don't know that on Halloween night, I'm locking them in the stalls. I'm going to put about 10 minutes in there, and about 10 minutes they're going to stay in there in that barn. I'm going to tell them they'll be all alone, and I'm going to close the door to the big barn. I mean, I'll truly be inside.
Yep.
And I'm just going to sit there quietly and watch and see how they freak out in the middle of the night. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, that's cool. You're staying safe for the wildfires?
Oh, we're not even close to being hit this year.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, knock on wood.
Well,
week of...
Yeah, buddy, to that. We had to evacuate a couple years ago because of the wildfires down here.
Yeah, it's not a lot of fun.
Bruce, weren't you and your son a couple of years ago in Lytton like a week before it burned down?
No, one day.
Or one day.
Yeah, we were the day before. A lot of people don't know this, but Lytton itself, if you're an out-of-towner, could not get into because of the indigenous population and COVID. So they put up blockades on either side saying, just kind of casual, recommending you stay away from it. So we didn't go into the downtown part, call it downtown part, it's one street. But it was, we're there just up on the top of the hill.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, so you left the day before to head home.
Yeah, if we were, we wouldn't have made it home where we were, and where we were burned down. So it was quite something.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, Lahaina is gone now too.
Yeah, and this is the second time a North American town has just gone up in flames. But you know what? They've done this in the past. It's a lot of the media talks about this being a huge issue now. Nope. California's lost many a town in years in the past, and so are other places right across North America.
Yeah, it's an ugly situation, forest fires. 2017 was horrific around my town.
Yeah.
And I got stuck up here, and when that happened, man, I've never been so scared in my life.
You know what governments have to do? They have to get away from relying on cell phones and understand that there are two ways that they're going to get messages out. And that's to people who are ham radio operators and to those who are, and they've got to reinforce this as part of being a public broadcaster. And they're all public broadcasters. You're borrowing the airwaves if you're in the States or Canada, FCC in the States and Industry Canada up here. should be part of your agreement that you send out 24/7 emergency messages if you're anywhere near a wildfire or an evacuation. And that's not what they did in Maui.
No, I agree. Gentlemen, get you to hold on right there. Thank you, Jenny and Mexi, for the super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on a nightly basis here. Head to our store, spacedoutradio.com, for our swag. And if you're new here, tuning in, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate it. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Has journalism and ufology gone crazy? We have Bruce Claggett here on Spaced Out Radio from BFC Communications out of Vancouver, British Columbia. He is known as a journalism expert. Terry Hall, our SOR insider, is with us tonight as well. Gentlemen, one of the things I want to start off with this half hour is the reporter who broke this story about David Grusch. His name is Ken Klippenstein, and he is a gentleman who apparently has some insiders in Washington, D.C., within the intelligence and defense communities. His father is apparently a former employee of the Department of Energy, and now he's trolling Twitter. And one of the tweets that he put out was basically that The Intercept, after that article, let him go, ... And then he followed it up with a tweet saying that they let him go do his own new blog, and you could sign up for his blog. And if you want more stories on anything, you can just sign up there. Okay, well, News Nation, Bruce, took that tweet, did not check the bottom of it, and basically said that The Intercept had fired him for that article.
Yeah.
I mean, what is going on here? Do we not follow up journalistic stories anymore? I mean, the guy is literally trolling a news outlet like News Nation, which has millions of subscribers and followers, and they're kind of the new fashionable kids on the broadcast block. What's going on here?
I don't know, but there is a real trend and a dangerous trend right now. If you see it on social media, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or Twitter X, I guess, X, or something else, Facebook, I mean, you got to believe it. And just to prove that point on how dangerous and terrible it is, Dave, I'm going to step outside of the UFO world and tell you about a story this week, very briefly, where there was a little girl who's now 14, but she was 9. You may have heard about this, Lil Tay, and her death was reported on Instagram, and the North American media, major media outlets, took a statement that was purportedly from her family and basically ran with it without checking. And it was only the New York Post that actually did the right thing, not Vancouver media. She's from Vancouver and Los Angeles, splits her time between the two. They phoned up the father, who is a lawyer in Vancouver, and said, hey, what's going on? Your daughter's dead. He said, don't believe everything you hear. And that started some really good checking afterwards, and found out this was a bit of a publicity stunt.
Well, do you guys think that Klippenstein did this story because the hit piece in particular, because Grusch is on the national stage, you do a hit piece that's bad enough? Because I saw the visceral reaction Bruce had when, I mean, you were mad about this.
Yeah.
Picking on a veteran that has problems. You had a very visceral reaction to it. Do you think that Klippenstein did this so he would get the the perks that come along with doing something like this?
We don't know what the motivations are. We do know how powerful social media becomes, and there are perks attached to it. So the motivation could be there, but I'm not even going to guess as to what the motivation is in this case. I don't know enough about the details, but boy, we're throwing a lot of things out right now without checking. When I say we, I mean the media, and that's got to stop. You never did in the past, and just because it's on social media and looks like something does not necessarily mean it is a fact. And that could be in any topic, in any realm, and we've got to be better.
Well, let me ask you this. I want to follow up on what Terry said. Klippenstein, in one of the interviews, because he's now taking his 15 minutes of fame
Hmm.
on this story, and he's going on a number of different uh, newscasts and television casts and YouTube casts and online casts right now on video. And one of the things that he has said is he thinks the UFO story is bogus. Does the bias going into the story cause, or is the bias a cause for concern if you've already made up your mind before you've started covering the story?
I'll jump in with that. Dave, we've talked about this in the past, and I think the same rules apply to almost any topic. Why would you not keep an open mind? And why would you bring your bias into hearing something that may be worth covering with an open mind? And if you are covering it, it is worth it. So, I mean, you've got to be open to the ideas that we as people do not know everything. We're often surprised by things in our world. They're often not easily explained, and that's okay. Just because your crazy uncle saw a UFO and he's crazy and it wasn't in fact a UFO and you found that out does not mean that you have to turn a blind eye to every report of something, especially when there are credible people out there making these observations. And the news media's got to figure that out too.
Well, okay. So, in regards to having that media bias going into the topic, that's the way a lot of people will say the media moves these days. Okay,
Mm.
whether it's UFOs, I mean, Bruce, I mean, you and I have talked privately about this subject of why it isn't being covered. I mean, I have done numerous radio shows across Canada
Yeah.
on the UFO subject, and not one Canadian reporter or radio host has asked me, is this happening in Canada? And it is. But they're only interested in the United States story, which I find a little baffling considering, you might want a Canadian angle on that. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, the idea behind journalism is whether you believe it or not, you still have to call it down the middle.
Well, not only call it down the middle, but you should be curious about what's happening and what really impacts you, affects you and your audience. Why would you not ask about that? I mean, that brings it right home. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I think something's missing, and I hate to be that old man with lots of experience, but he's crusty old man calling out the younger journalists because I'm not. There's lots of great journalism out there from younger reporters. But I will say this: there are people that get into journalism now more than ever before that I've seen in my lifetime that do it because they want to spread their feelings, their emotions, their bias, what they believe, and look for stories based on that. And some of them end up being editors and decision makers, and some of them end up being top senior executives in media companies.
It's weird how it's kind of moved into that realm, and why has the UFO subject been so sticky for mainstream media to actually get behind when there
Yeah.
seems more proof about this phenomena than many other stories that are covered?
Well, Warner Brothers didn't do a lot of justice with the Bugs Bunny cartoons. No, I mean, a lot of it comes from how we looked, really even going back to the entertainment business in years past. What were UFOs? What were aliens? How were they portrayed? How did we grow up looking at aliens and UFOs? And what associations do we have at a very base level about the story? And that's probably not necessarily the media's fault. That could be just how the entertainment industry, how we wrote about it in comic books, how the films, movies portrayed the whole subject. So we still have a legacy from that, which has made it over to the media in part, which does not absolve the media of any responsibility in actually taking a look with an open mind.
Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications is with us talking about ufology, the way it's covered in mainstream media, and the latest news between David Grusch and this reporter Ken Klippenstein from The Intercept. Bruce, one of the big things that's talked about in ufology right now, and for our audience, Terry Hall is here with us, but we only have Bruce Claggett till the top of the hour, so that's why we're putting the focus mainly on Bruce right now. Bruce, one of the things that is coming up here, that especially in the background conversations of many Facebook groups or Signal groups or whatever, is will this type of article deter other type of whistleblowers to come out and say, look, I don't want to put my family through this, or I don't need my PTSD to hit the public eye, because we don't really know, how many people are out there. We heard there was probably another 8 to 10, maybe as many as 20 different whistleblowers that were potentially going to come forward to support David Grusch's claims on the UFO subject. Now, do we see this as a shot over the bow, maybe from government sources that helped bring this story forward?
I don't know. I don't have enough information to know if that is the case. But what you are saying about people who would be whistleblowers, other whistleblowers that back up and lead or give credence to the story, not being able to come forward now, I think that's very real. People that are whistleblowers who may become whistleblowers are going to be concerned in the first place. They don't want necessarily to come forward with their stories out of fear of what could happen to them. That's why they're whistleblowers. And that's why we have protections for them in many cases. Now, add what happened here, be it planned or not, be it orchestrated or not. I think this is definitely going to hurt other people coming forward. Absolutely, yes. And that's unfortunate.
Okay, so could that, I know it's a hypothetical question, and you're not, and for the record, you are not involved in any sort of ufology whatsoever, but I'll put a hypothetical question your way, and that would be, do you think that there is a potentiality that this was a, even though he got the information legally through a FOIA request, that maybe he wasn't pushed to look in that direction by maybe somebody who said, you might want to look here, a government official maybe, that wanted Grusch to shut up? Because the one thing that we do know that is happening in ufology is there is a very big tear in the middle between those who want the subject to come out in Washington, D.C., and those who want to bury it back under the carpet.
Let me address that question by only saying this. There are people who make their professional careers working behind the scenes in the shadows, controlling messages and controlling how people think by playing people against each other. There are people working in government relations that do that all the time. In fact, there are firms, and I've worked with some of them, that are very good at that and can be hired to do that privately. There are also firms that work for different agencies, or people that work for different agencies that do nothing but that. That exists. And it exists for a reason, and that is to control damage and also to spread a message that's on point for what you want to communicate as an organization. So I offer that.
Representative Tim Burchett has been on fire about the UFO story. I mean, him and Congresswoman Anna Luna, they both helped put together the latest UFO hearings a couple of weeks ago. Burchett really wants every type of disclosure. He believes that the American public deserves to know what's happened from Roswell on this way. He wants to know who the government players are, who's covering up the story, where are the aircraft, where are the bodies. He's a big supporter of David Grusch. Oh, and David Grusch's personal testimony, which has gone twice now in front of congressional hearings. He's talking still very tough on Twitter. One of the statements he's made is, "Tell me who illegally leaked Grusch's health records, and I will bust their ass." He has also been retweeting a lot of other UFO information that has been put out there regarding this subject. I mean, the politicians don't seem to be falling for this, and here's a tweet from August 8th. Trying to discredit a decorated veteran like David Grusch shows the desperation of the group trying to hide the truth. They will fail. I mean, are we seeing and not reporting, Bruce, on really the first time in our history, our recent history, maybe long history, the last 70 years, a public battle between the elected officials who want to know what is going on and the military industrial complex that has basically run the United States of America the last 70 years since World War II?
Well, my understanding is that battle has been there for, ever probably since 1776. But you take that out of it, and you just take a look at what the public is and the public's right to know. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States or Canada. That is something that we trust, that we as members of the public should be able to have open and clear disclosure from our government. No doubt about it. There are some exceptions to that, but the exceptions would be in cases where it needs to protect us. And that's where that gray area gets pushed way beyond where it should be. Why do we need protection from certain information? And usually we don't. What we do need is to be informed. Now, the media is often blamed for things or given credit for things. The media represents the interests of the public, or they should. That is who they should serve at their best. And part of the thing that a reporter should be doing is holding those people who are in power to account to make sure that they are telling the truth, the full truth, and disclosing everything they know and giving us the information that we need to make up our own minds.
But it
And
seems
journalists used to be our systems of checks and balances.
Absolutely. And their system of checks and balances and holding truth to power for a very good reason. And they're not supposed to line up on any one side. And that one side is not necessarily if you're a Democrat or a Republican or if you are this way or that way. It could be on the side of not believing in certain things that should be questioned. I mean, a journalist should be always open to understanding and wanting to gain as much information as possible.
We have Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications out of Vancouver, British Columbia, for another 5 minutes. Terry Hall, our SOR insider, talking about how crazy ufology is right now, ever since a story from The Intercept, broadcasted and wrote about the PTSD issues that whistleblower David Grusch has been suffering with. And here's the thing that gets me, Bruce, and I mentioned it quickly in the first hour. But this is a gentleman that, and I'm not defending David Grusch here, okay? I'm calling it with the information that I see. This is a gentleman who had this problem between years 2014 and 2018. So we're going between 5 and 9 years ago, okay? He went into a facility. He got help. He never lost his security clearance. That is the big one for me. is that they never took away his security clearance and his job of literal importance regarding the UFO community and the UAPTF, pardon me. Okay, the fact that he didn't have his clearance revoked, that to me says a lot about the person, and that the way that his fellow coworkers and bosses thought of him. But that wasn't reported.
No, it wasn't. And also this idea of mental health being a stigma, it shouldn't be. And it's such a broad term that when we take a look at that as a condition, there could be some very strong reasons for it. And in some cases, we look at that as a means to being a hero, especially when we talk about PTSD. Who knows what he was dealing with? It really is a personal matter. It only becomes a matter to anyone else if it is a politician, a leader, a policymaker, and it's having some sort of effect, whatever their health issue is, on their job. And even then, you have to be careful how you report it. It's none of our business.
Yeah, to me, I think it's a sad day for journalism when we see things like that coming through.
It is. And it's also a stinging indictment of how we take a look at mental health. When you take a look at statistics, I don't know what they are in the States, but in our country, when we find out that a vast majority of families have immediate families, the majority of immediate families have at least one member with a mental health diagnosis. I mean, that's real. That's the population you're dealing with. And there is no stigma. It is a illness. And it's what your actions are that really you have to wonder about. And in this case, there's no correlation between his actions and his condition, only one that they're hoping to grasp straws at and make.
See, and that for me, Terry, is something that, as we got about 2 minutes to go here, that's something for me, Terry, where I look at this seems like in the end a setup to try and dissolve the popularity of David Grusch.
Absolutely. It's if you look at it, it's been done so many times before. It doesn't matter who comes out on the positive side of this. You're always going to have someone on the negative side. And unfortunately, the negative side doesn't have a problem throwing mud. It's not just dirt, it's mud. They don't
Because
only
mud
attack
strikes better.
they don't only attack the person, they attack everything about the whole story. How it was brought out, who it was brought out by, why was it brought out, when was it brought out, how long did person A know person B prior to this coming to light. It's UFO 101 basically. This happens to everybody who steps forward, and it has so far. I had the distinct pleasure of talking with someone from the Tic Tac incident. Uh, uh, Turned out to be the guys turned out to be a really really good friend, and you would not believe the amount of abuse and harassment not people have done to him, but the military did to this poor guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Bruce Claggett, 30 seconds left. Do
Yeah.
me a favor. Tell everybody where they can find you and BFC Communications.
Well, the best way to do it is go to X, which used to be Twitter, and take a look at. If you follow me, I'd really enjoy that. It's a brand new Twitter account. It's at Bruce on Air. All the information is there for BFC Communications, and look forward to seeing as many of your listeners as possible.
Awesome. Bruce Claggett, very much thank you for coming on Spaced
Thank
Out
you.
Radio tonight. When we return on the Mighty SOR, we continue the UFO story with our insider Terry Hall on Spaced Out Radio tonight. And we appreciate each and every one of you tuning us on this night of high strangeness, wondering what the hell is going on in ufology. Spaced Out Radio's hour number 2 coming up next.
Bruce, you probably just got a whole bunch of us opening up their phones, and so watch your X account for the next few minutes, and you'll be surprised.
Terry, what a pleasure. I hope Dave invites me back so I can actually be in to hear more of you.
Oh,
And yeah.
I'm gonna make Dave bring you back. You're
Good.
fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
I could listen to you all night long.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a lot of
Maybe
fun.
next time you come on, we can talk about what's actually happened to the fourth wall, where it went.
Oh yeah. No, you know what? There's so much there, and I think a lot of it is of interest to your audience. Anyways, I've got to go. I've got to go to bed. Get a couple hours of shut eye.
It's
Appreciate you,
been a
buddy.
real pleasure, Bruce.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Terry. Thanks as always, Dave.
Good night, Bruce Claggett. Terry, I'm just gonna step out for a quick second here. I'll be right back. Do you want to go in the green room or do you want to hang out with the audience?
You can put me in a green room for a second.
All right. We'll be right back, guys. All right, Terry. We got you, bud.
We got you, bud.
Tim has his son not feeling too well tonight, so I'm gonna get you to hang out if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Tim's had his hands full this week,
Yeah. So
so
we'll just keep it on.
I always got my brother's back, man. No worries.
All
We're
right.
good.
Hi, Cowboy Five Rings. Bobo, how you doing? You're gonna act normal tonight, Gildo? Just making sure. Dwayne Wise, how you doing? And who else do we got here?
Scott Rosin, can't we all just get along?
Hey,
I'm
he's
sorry,
signing
I didn't
he's
mean
signing
to giggle.
autographs. He's signing autographs after the show. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah, you
Robert-
got to line up to the left. Remember, line up to the left.
No, he's on the right. Scott's on the right.
He's on the right. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, my other left end. Excuse me.
Yep. You got to be careful with that. Sovereign Farts, how you doing? Good to have you back. And thank you to our super chatters, Jenny, Mexi, and Simon. And here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Quasquicentennial. Quasquicentennial is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. SOR insider Terry Hall is with us tonight as he will go the distance with us talking UFOs and the strange stories that are going around here. And Terry, a lot of what Bruce Claggett said in the first hour, and we thank Bruce for coming on that first hour, breaking down the journalistic side of everything. I mean, it's hard not to have a personal position on this subject with David Grusch. And it's very hard when somebody attacks his credibility through his medical records. I know that you are very passionate about veterans. You come from a military family. You have a number of friends who are veterans. We have a number of veterans who and people who serve right now listening to this show. Okay. I mean, at some point, how do you feel about this?
Oh, you want my real feelings about this? I think it's shameful. I did a little bit of digging on David just on my own, checking through his essay and so forth. And the one thing that stuck out to me was none of the residents he had listed linked to the county that this particular report came from. In other words, his address or the things that you could research about him should never have added up to 1 and 1 shouldn't have added up to 2 in this instance. So, and with FOIAs, you have to be fairly specific, especially something like this where you're doing a county FOIA. You have to have a date and a time. So where did he get this information from? How did he know when and where and what time to request these records from? That's part number 1. Part number 2 is Where did the HIPAA part of this come from? Those are, I mean, for me, like I said, it's just shameful. I think he did it, and this is my own personal opinion. I think this guy did it just so he could get his 15 minutes of fame, and it's horrid.
The concerning part for me is the fact that he has come out as a staunch non-believer of this phenomena. He thinks
He's
it's a
a
waste
Mick
of time.
West.
Well, I don't know if he's a Mick West or not, but I look at this from a journalistic point of view. The job is it. I hated soccer. Okay, everybody know if you've listened to this show long enough, you know that I absolutely if we put sports in a religious connotation, to me soccer is the antichrist of the world. Okay? I loathe it that much. Okay? And even though when I was a sports journalist, I hated covering soccer. I hated going to the Vancouver Whitecaps games and practices. To me, it was a waste of time because in my deep mind, I wanted to say to these players, how do you take this seriously? How do you take, this game? I can't even call it a sport because it just feels like it's dirty on my mouth. Okay, but how do you take this seriously? Like when they were talking seriously about it, I was almost laughing. Okay, because I can't stand the game. But the professional side of me as a journalist, I knew I was there and I had to do the job. And no matter how much I hated the assignment, I still had to do the job that I was required to do because that was my paycheck. And a lot of people listening to this, my critics listening to this will say, Dave, get off your high horse, and soccer has
No,
nothing to do with
it's not a
UFOs.
high horse, Dave. I've called you the Walter Cronkite of the UFO community for years.
Well, I appreciate that. That Walter Cronkite, I bestow all honors on a great journalist like that. Okay, but the idea that or the point that I'm getting at is there are certain times and places where you should not do anything. Okay, I knew stories that I would never release as a reporter. Okay, one of the things that we never covered as reporters, give you an example. I would be sitting outside a home where there was a body found when I worked in news. Okay, you find out it was somebody who tragically decided to end their own life because we can't say the S word on YouTube. Okay, you would sit out there. You would make the family uncomfortable because here you are in a marked radio station vehicle sitting out there wondering what's going on until the police come back to you and say, yeah, look, this was uh, something else. Okay. And you would immediately, you sat out there for an hour, 2 hours, and you would immediately just pick up and leave, not even report on it because of the situation. Now imagine if the news coverage picked up on those situations. How tragic would that be for the families? Does David Grusch's wife deserve what is going on with this story? No, this was a part of their marriage. This was an ugly part of their marriage where she was trying to save her husband's life while he was begging for her to end it. And that's why he was put in a psychiatric facility for a few days in order to get refocused. But I don't think the guy should be ostracized for something along those lines, especially when mental health played a major issue in this.
I've had members of my own family get taken physically from the home, not our home, not my wife or my kids, but my extended family, and held for 72 hours for their own good, especially when they get to that point. I can say because God rest his soul, he's passed now. My father's brother, my uncle Bill, World War II veteran, Korean War veteran, Vietnam veteran. He went to 3 different theaters of war. In our household, you didn't walk up behind and play the boo game. You didn't sneak in bedrooms when people were asleep. But my uncle was a pillar in his community. He was an engineer. As a matter of fact, he was an engineer for the company that you work for in your day-to-day job. He had severe PTSD, but it didn't take away from his mental alertness, sharpness, or just the man that he was. So, without going into a tirade about, and the other part about this is too, in the UFO community, it's gone from the poor fella having uh, uh, an episode and being an alcoholic or a recovering alcoholic, I should say, to I've heard everything from the guy had autism allegedly to all the way up to him being um oh, what do they call it?
Asperger's.
No, not Asperger's. It's well beyond that. We'll just say bat stuff crazy. It's the whole gambit. It's people have turned to the people who are going on about this, especially in these kind of communities, have thrown better judgment away for likes and shares.
Okay, but that brings up a good point. Okay, how much of this is clickbait? How much of this, I mean, the way he's trolling the UFO community, and rightfully, you know what? I will defend his point on News Nation, where News Nation did not, and I love Ross Coulthart. I think he is a great reporter, but they got caught with the fact that he had allegedly been fired from the Intercept. Okay, only to troll ufology and say that he wasn't let go. He was let go to do his blog.
Yeah.
Basically got permission to do his new blog, and anybody who wants to subscribe to his blog can now go do so. Okay, and that is something. But I just this doesn't sit right with me that anybody in ufology, you can criticize David Grusch all you want. It's just like when we put our faces on this screen or on the radio, people can criticize everything that we say because we've given them that freedom and that opportunity to do so because we're public people. David Grusch is a public whistleblower. Okay. But there comes a line where I don't think this I don't know if Klippenstein has worked at any major news outlets other than the Intercept. I don't know his background. Okay. But if he had, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be doing this. And I don't take that from a skeptical point of view. He hates the UFO story.
Yeah.
I don't think he's like Mick West, where Mick West would like to see something. He would love to have an experience. He would love to believe this topic. Just he hasn't seen in his mind the actual proof of what things truly are. That's the big difference here.
Well, the difference between a Mick West and this guy is Mick West. Anytime that anytime I go out on a research project, I'd give the guy a tent to come with me, just so he could be there and see how we do it and what we do. This other fella, I wouldn't walk across the street right now to throw a glass of water on the guy if he was on fire. None of this sits well with me. If I come at you with a criticism, it's not a criticism about something that you don't have any control over. How can you criticize that? You criticize things that you can take control of. or you should have control of, and maybe you don't. But when it comes to something like this is just I don't know, Dave. I'm old. This to me is just as low as you can get.
But what does it say for ufology these days when there are people defending Klippenstein and his actions?
Once again, it's ufology 101. You're always there's it's become cool to be the guy who says that's not going to work, or or he has a right to say do, or he has a right to report on, and we should all know. It's become cool to be that. Back, we can take old Hollywood for an example. Old Hollywood reporters had dirt on everybody, but every one of them squashed it to keep the glamour going in a country that needed it at the time. Right now, this is one of the big stories going on, and people are just going to jump in with both feet every chance they get. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. Once again, for me, as long as it boils down to how many people are going to move a mouse over something like this and press it, or how much. I think that they've turned this into a cottage industry, Dave. People like this Klippenstein guy knows if you can press enough buttons, there's a paycheck behind it.
Do you believe in your research on this topic that Klippenstein was given any insider information regarding this, knowing that he admitted that he does have contacts in the DOD, at the Pentagon, as well as in the intelligence community?
He had to. There was too many things that lined up. How did he know that in the state of West Virginia, county FOIAs only take a maximum of 5 days? How did he know where, when, and what time to get the information, to request that information? How did he know about anything else that he knows about? Like you said, the guy got on and said, "Hey, I want to know about this fella, good or bad." Well, you got one of those people, and Burchett said this the other day. He said the alphabet agencies are pushing back hard. Well, you get a good enough story. Um, I mean, this is Richard Doty 101. Richard Doty 101. Or the art of Sun Tzu, or the art of war with Sun Tzu. It's basic. Sow dissension among the ranks and win the war. So
I want to
you
I want to
know,
ask you, if you don't mind, if Terry Hall was a potential whistleblower, looking at what's just happened with David Grusch, and you haven't gone public yet, would you?
for me, personally, yes, I would. It wouldn't matter to me what they did to me, because and it's been said by a lot better people than me, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to us, at least in our recorded history. This is if non-human intelligence is visiting this planet and they know about it and they're having interaction with it, the problem comes from this. Okay, first question, where did they come from? Second question, how did they get here? And third question is, what kind of power source are they using? Now, I because I have done my history, I know that certain monopolies run things here. Uh, I mean, the United States dollar, Dave, is called the petrodollar in in financial circles. It's the petrodollar. So are they Are we going to finally become Earthlings and not Russians or Ukrainians or Americans or Canadians? Are we going to become Earthlings or not? Are we going to watch the all the wind and the nuclear and solar and oil and gas and coal? Are we going to watch all those industries crumble because there is 0 point energy that you can put something as big as a pack of cigarettes inside the glove box of your Tesla and never have to plug it in again. There's so many things in our day-to-day lives that if this phenomena proves to be real and there's they are as technically advanced as we all say they are, then the whole world is going to change. And the people, I mean, Dave, the United States spent 800, I think it was $847 billion this year in military spending. That means that there's guys sitting behind the desks that really don't do a daggone thing except for say, give money to this guy and give money to this guy and give money to this guy. But the guy sitting behind the desk is making $2.7 million a year for doing that. That's a big industry to mess up. And that's just one. That's just a military industrial complex. That's not the oil industry. That's not the energy industry. That's not nuclear power and solar industry. And, you know, I work for a company, Dave, that sells solar panels. That's not all we do, but that's one part of the company that I work for. And that's a big industry right now. I mean, you've got states sponsoring it. Every state basically in the union says, you know, put solar on your roof and it's a zero out of pocket thing because we'll give you the money to do it. There's a lot of industries that's going to be sorely hurt if this proves out to be real. I mean, right now, one of the biggest things that they're debating is, are they going to kill the trucking industry? If they put automatic drivers in those semi trucks, that's the biggest industry in the United States. And we could kill that with Tesla magic, basically.
Oh, I hear
And
you.
but they're not. They're not going to. And not unless they're going to start issuing, that monthly stipend from Uncle Sam for you to sit home and do nothing.
We got about a minute to go here, Terry, before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. SOR UFO insider Terry Hall is with us tonight, and he'll be with us right through the end of the show. Terry, with everything that is happening right now in the UFO world, what do you trust? What information are you trusting right now?
I trust the information that is sat before Congress under oath, especially, and it doesn't matter to me if you've had mental problems or not. When you take the oath to go into the military and you separate yourself from friends and family and country and everything else to fight for my freedoms, and then you sit in front of Congress, those guys, when they look at that flag, it means something different to them. They honor that, and and their words. I'd take their word over anybody else's right now. If they're lying, they're going to jail.
Terry, hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. It's a great place to end it on Spaced Out Radio. And when we return, we're going to change subjects a little bit here. We're going to get into Peru. We're going to have more on Grusch, but we are going to get into what are these aliens running around in Peru for? Are they killing people? Are they taking out small communities? Spaced Out Radio returns right after this. Stay tuned. Good job,
That-
Terry Hall.
We're here. We're here. The audience is having a good time tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well, they
I
normally do.
Because of an unfortunate incident coming home, I had to use these monitors that we have in there. I mean, they're almost so big I don't need to use my glasses. So I'm actually able to watch for a change the comments as they're coming in. That's a bit different for me.
Well, that's nice. You can see that the people really like you. They really, really like you.
You and I've talked about this about this whole deal, and I mean, granted, I'm almost 60 years old, and I'm an old-fashioned thinker, but to come at somebody, I mean, people have forgotten what it's like to get punched in the nose, man. They really have. And you know what, Dave? Your swag beat the most popular cup on the market.
Why do you
My
say that?
company got me one of those insulated mugs from that high dollar company. Starts
Yeah.
with a Y.
Yeah.
And this is the one that I got off the Spaced Out Radio, swag bag. Not swag bag, but I got it off spacedoutradio.com. They're just shopping for it, right?
Yeah.
It's a better cup than the other one.
Well,
And
that's
holds
good.
ice longer. It keeps your coffee hotter longer. it 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 really it beat that other cup hands down, dude. This thing has been I've got so many miles on this cup, Dave. Holy smoke. Everywhere I go, it goes with me. And even my daughter commented on it. She said, "Who came up with that logo?" I'm like, "My boss did." "Do you love the purple?" I said, "Well, honey, that represents the colors on Spaced Out Radio's logo represent the Northern Lights." And then
That's
then
true.
she thought it was totally cool, man. That you put enough thought into it that it's when I said it's the Northern Lights, because I took them up one year to see the Northern Lights. Oh, and hey, that reminds me.
Perseid meteor showers going on.
Yeah, buddy. You ever look through a psionics at the meteor shower? This is my first year doing it, and it's been blowing me away, dude.
Oh, I bet. I bet. I would actually like to try that.
When we lived in Utah, we had a cabin, and it was at about 11,500 feet, and we'd go up to the cabin twice a year, specifically for the meteor showers. And
Oh,
being at that altitude, it's unreal. I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that. Well, we've got clear skies here tonight. Matter of fact, it's supposed to get up to 105 degrees here this weekend.
oh my goodness.
That's the hottest it's the hottest I think it's ever been since I've lived here in Oregon.
It's 40 degrees Celsius.
That's staying in the house in the air conditioner. That's what that is. My dogs don't even want to go outside.
No, no, no. Why would they?
Oh. It's good to have you back, boss.
It's always good to be back. Always good to be back. I don't like taking nights off. I know Marquise did a great job. He really did.
He did. I thought so anyway, personally.
But
And I did see in the chat, just to let you guys know, Tim's okay. Tim's fine. He's just been a busy boy this week. That's all.
yeah, let's say hello to Fermi's Paradox, to Lunar Tina, to Susie B. And who else has joined us
And
here?
Jessica S.
Toe Tag, Travis W. and UFO Whistleblower. How are you, buddy? if you guys have any questions for Terry or myself, please put them in capital letters. We will get to questions, your questions, this half hour. Shell Ashley, welcome back to SOR. And thank you to our super chatters tonight, Jenny, Mexi, and Simon. Philip Baca, how you doing? And Tokeland, nice to see you again. And anybody else? Here we go.
Yeah,
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate broadcasting into your homes each and every night here on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for the love. And of course, if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button, because our archives are always going to be free. Other shows and everything, they charge for their archives. Not us. Not us. Not ever. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's all the reason I ask. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Lots of news going on in the UFO world right now. Terry Hall, thank you so much for being here tonight. Very much appreciated. Our SOR insider to what's going on in the UFO and weird world that is out there. And we want to say thank you once again in hour number one to Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications joining us. He would have loved to have stayed longer, but the 2 a.m. radio call really is tough when you only get 4 hours. I remember those days. Oh, I remember those days. Terry, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Dave. And I've got to ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay. We all know that Hollywood's on strike right now, which gives independent things like Netflix and others and social media a step up, a real step up right now. And from personal knowledge, I know that they're always looking for the next big thing. Do you think this Klippenstein fella is trying to work that aspect? I mean, Gaia TV's calling him all the time, and do you think that's one of his avenues that he's trying to explore?
I don't know. I really don't know, Terry. I don't think Hollywood really has anything to do with it right now. I think it's about trying to get the story out, no matter which shape or form.
For the reaction. I mean, that's why you put a story like that out, is for the reaction, right?
You do it for the reaction, but you do it because of you're trying to get another side of the story. Okay? Because the majority of journalists out there will report point A, but the really good ones will go for a point B and maybe a point C. I just think when you break a story about someone's health, and you don't even mention the fact that he never lost his security clearance, which is that's the big one out of this. Okay, because we're only going to know bits and pieces. We're only reacting on this show to bits and pieces that we know. And we're treating this like it's, the fall of the Berlin Wall.
To me, for him not losing his security clearance, knowing the kind of people that he is stalked, that he's part of, uh, shows that he's willing to man up and or to cowboy up to everybody. It,
Well, I mean, look, there are people within that community, okay, the UFO community, the intelligence community, that would know whether or not he was trustworthy with those clearances that he
mhm.
had. Okay. And the fact that they did not remove those those security clearances over this incident says to me a lot about who and what David Grusch is all about. That is something that I don't think should be overlooked. Now, the critics are all over that. You know, I mean, we've heard him being called a drunk. We've heard him being called abusive. We don't know what he went through. We really don't know.
Yep.
And but the idea that his credentials were not pulled due to this PTSD incident that he suffered from serving over in Afghanistan is something that we don't even know, like, and everybody's PTSD is different.
Oh
Some
yeah.
people have it extremely severe where they decide they don't want to live anymore and they either attempt it or fulfill it. Others, they battle through. They battle through the nights of not sleeping. They battle through the anxiety. They battle through the depression. It's
Yep.
just a continuous fight. And I mean, I'll be the first one that if I ever ran for political office, Veterans Affairs would be something that would be high on my list because I think too many veterans, have taken an ugly way out when they should have been able to get help. It should not even
Hey,
have been a question,
right. Amen to that. 100,000%.
right? And
I,
that's going back to whoever, whether you're still alive and you served in Korea. I mean, we don't have a lot of World War II vets left.
yeah.
Okay. Whether you served in Korea, whether you served in Vietnam, whether you served in the Middle East or Somalia or wherever you may have served. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of ugly battlefields in this area. A lot of ugly battlefields. And you shouldn't have to battle coming home. And
No.
more importantly, you shouldn't have to battle the media over your PTSD when you come home either.
Yeah, I'd rubber stamp that. Amen to that. That's like I said to me that guy did something that you just don't recover from people like me. It wouldn't matter to me if he came out with a story that proves Santa Claus was real. Now, it doesn't matter what he says anymore. To me, he's burned that bridge. And judging from Bruce's opinion, Bruce's just the way he reacted. I mean, he he actually a professional journalist actually slipped and said GD, you know, and he's trained not to do that when he's on there. So it's pushing a lot of people's buttons, and it's not the right kind of buttons to be pushing. I mean, Dave, if I went down the street to the mechanic shop and walked in and I said, "How many people in here know who David Grusch is, who or who Ross Coulthart is, or who Dave Scott is?" Uh, there's not a whole lot of hands that go up. You and I both know that, but it boils down to, I think, something that you've been very succinct about. That this is really the first time that us as the public have been able to witness a just a stand-up fight between what Eisenhower coined as the military-industrial complex and the people who truly are trying to do what our government used to do, and that's represent the people.
I think we're seeing that in all sorts of governments right now, to be blunt. I really do, but that's a political statement that, we got to be very careful of what we're saying, but the idea behind it for me is this: if I was a whistleblower and I just saw what happened with David Grusch, I really don't know if I would come out. And it also we can't deny this either. When Grusch said his testimony regarding the fact that he had been threatened, that his family had been threatened, his wife had taken phone calls, and to me, a report like this is a shot over his bow. Whether or not that came from the DOD or an intelligence member to reporter Ken Klippenstein, we don't know. We really don't know. Only Klippenstein knows that. Okay.
Well,
But
you
if
say
that
it's a
was
shot of
But if it was a shot over his bow by an anonymous source tipping Klippenstein off where to look, that just shows and proves exactly what Grusch had stated in the hearing publicly about the attacks that are happening on people like him.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he said he came out and said, yeah, they've called my family and they've threatened this, and my wife's taking phone calls. Those are shots across the bow. When you bring something like this, as touchy as this subject is, this isn't a shot across the bow. This is a broadside. The other stuff was quiet. All the personal threats and all the phone calls, that was all quiet. This isn't quiet. They tried to go after him on the personal side quietly, and it didn't work. So is this just the next ratcheting up of the machine?
We have a couple of questions from our audience coming up here, but I also know in our YouTube chat room, we also have a number of veterans who are tuning in. If you're a veteran in our chat room, I want you to type out how you feel about this situation, and I'm going to read it on the air. So if you could do that for me, if you're in the chat room and you are a veteran or currently serving, tell me what you feel about this David Grusch situation and his health concerns from PTSD from serving, how it plays out for you. That's what I want to know. Let's get to a question from our audience here. Let's go to Sabrina. Terry and Dave, how has those items which you have found to be true affected and changed what you perceive to believe? How have they changed you mentally and emotionally? What have you learned about you? Terry, you start off with that one.
I had something throughout my entire life. My family was they were religious, but they were very open minded. And as a young man in a car with mom and dad, laying in the back of the station wagon, me and my brother with the comic books, how we used to do things. That was the first time we ever saw a UFO. We saw it as a family. Apparently, it wasn't the first time my dad or my mom had seen them. My dad actually saw UFOs in World War II. He actually saw Foo Fighters in World War II. So this has been part of my life, but something happened to me that was so brutal and turned out to be beneficial that I've I haven't formed opinion on it if they're good, bad, or indifferent, but I have formed an opinion that there are things out there that are a lot more advanced than we are, and I look at the bright side and hope for the best for humanity and know that this could be a really, really good thing. So mentally, it's changed me to be more pushing for this for the simple reason that I think that it could benefit everybody. Um, Emotionally, really hasn't changed me much because I've always been a pretty open-minded guy. Uh, and as far as perceiving things, when we go out on these research trips, and Dave, I think that you're familiar with this too. The more people that we have with us that are actual experiencers, whether it be seeing things or actually all the way to abduction, seems to be almost like a magnet. And as far as perception of things, that's one thing that I think about a lot because are they coming so we can see them? Or I mean, are they able? Are they so advanced that they can actually read our thoughts or feel our intentions? You know, the intentions are good. We just want to say hi, right? You're in the neighborhood, stop by. I'll share a soda with you, kind of thing. Um, how about you, Dave? How has it changed and how has it affected you?
Oh my goodness. It's made me question my reality. It's made this entire subject forum has made me question my personal beliefs from who I am to what life is about to my relationship. I make a note, even though I don't preach a religion, I am a very firm believer in God. I feel it's brought me closer. And I think that it's allowed me to see things from a different purview than many other people have seen. And I I've noticed that I'm very quick to sniff out BS in this topic when people are trying to
Mhm.
pull the wool over your eyes for their own 15 minutes of fame. You know, I'm surprised at how many government people are involved with this topic, whether it's UFOs, cryptids, or paranormal, mostly in UFOs right now. Okay. I mean, to me, it's a little bit sticky. I don't quite really understand truly what's going on. Okay. And that's why I continue to do what I do on a nightly basis, which is host this show. I have to. It's the only way that we can get close to finding any of the answers. It really is. But on the flip side, when you have that fleeting experience of a UFO or an alien or a Bigfoot or a ghost, it's like an addiction. You want to have it happen again and
Yeah.
again and again. It's like let's say your favorite animal in the forest is a mountain lion. I've been fortunate where I've seen, 3 mountain lions in my day.
Hmm.
You don't see mountain lions unless you're very lucky. And
Yep.
yet we all know they exist. Okay. We all know they exist, but I've lived in the middle of the wilderness here for 8 years and I've seen 2 mountain lions. And I know in my area, there's probably a dozen or so that live in my area
Hmm.
because of the deer population. You just never see them
Well,
because
same
they're
thing with coyotes. The whole mountain, the whole hill behind our house here, every night you could hear them, and they're, I mean, less than 300 yards from my back door, and I've seen one in 7 years, and I've got a whole hill full of them back here. So yeah.
absolutely. So I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to believe it. And it's opened my eyes up to the fact that, people who have these incredible experiences, they're not crazy. They're not stupid. They aren't making it up. They don't wear tinfoil hats and t-shirts and underwear. Okay. They are normal people. I mean, going back in the day, working in the newsroom, we all thought that these tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists were nut bars when they would call in to talk about a UFO being spotted over Vancouver or wherever. It's the way we treated them till the damn UFOs came around me. Hey, let's get some um, comments from our audience here regarding what we were asking for the veterans in our chat room. Okay. Robert Lamoth says, as a vet, I'm mad as hell. Okay. And Thomas Rock says, it makes me sick. And Toe Tag says, PTSD is not a weakness. Scott Rosen says,
Mad as
I'm
hell.
mad as hell. Okay. And these are people who were in the trenches, on the sea, in the air, trying to make things happen, make this world a better place.
Well, I
Right?
remember that quote right there. I just wish that we would live up to what was said after that. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. How
Yeah.
long do we have to take this kind of stuff before? I mean, we finally got people that are standing up. People that would have never stood up before.
That is very true.
From very public figures to people. I mean, dude, we've got Harvard involved with this, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Now,
I was chatting with Gary Nolan yesterday via email.
yeah,
Another Black Dragon, who's a former Marine. Who can we trust? That's a big point right there. You know?
yep.
Scott Rosen, I suspect something scared Grusch more than the consequences.
That's what I meant when I was talking about who was he supposed to break this story? How, who was he supposed to go to break this? A Dave Scott, a Ross Coldhart, a Blumenthal. People who already have the UFO attachment, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, nobody's even brought up the fact that if this is true, that our government's been lying to us for close to 80 years and keeping secrets from us for close to maybe even longer than that, because apparently Germany was supposed to have alien technology in the 30s. So how far does it go back? How long have they been covering it up? How many people have been institutionalized over it? How many people have lost their careers over it, their lives over it?
Yeah.
And it's also that the machine that's been grinding away since the early 1900s can just keep grinding on us. I mean, is really?
Mm-hmm. Toe Tag here, a great veteran. Unfortunately, I had to go through hell with PTSD to discover who I am now from a spiritual perspective. Right? It's the way it is. It's the way
Yep.
it is. I mean, I don't have military experience. Nobody in my family has served. Okay. And that's probably for the majority of Canadians. Okay. But for a country like the United States, which I have the utmost love and respect for, there are people everywhere who are affected by this one
Yeah.
way or another, especially if we look at recent years since Vietnam. And we haven't even got into the UFO story about the PTSD that follows with things like that. But that's just where it is. That's
One
where
of the
it is.
guys that was serving on the Nimitz during the Tic Tac event was treated so harshly that he developed heart problems. He has epileptic seizures and a number of, I mean, the guy ended up wandering around in the woods for like 2.5 weeks to get his head together.
Absolutely.
And
Terry,
so
we got to wrap it up right there because we are done 2 hours. We got one more hour with Terry Hall, SOR Insider. Thank you to all the veterans who are serving and have served. We love you so much. Thank you for everything that you've done. Among the Missing by Steve Stockton kicks off hour 3. Then Terry and I are going the distance. We'll get into Peru next on Spaced Out Radio. Here's another quick comment from Whitey Ray, and welcome to SOR Chat, Whitey Ray. I am an Army vet. I had PTSD well before the military. I think you can see it in people, but doesn't mean those people are insane, incompetent, or liars. Beautiful statement.
Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely.
Love you, my man. Love you. Thank you for your service and everything.
Look,
Very
it
much.
doesn't matter if you've got PTSD from growing up in East LA in the 80s or something from your childhood that they now call CPTSD or compound post-traumatic stress disorder. It doesn't take away from the person that you are.
Zandy, we're going to get into Peru next once we get back on the radio side.
The big green aliens.
Max Ritchie, how you doing, man?
I'll be right back, boss.
Me too. We'll be right back, guys. I'm going to leave Whitey Ray's comment up there for a few minutes because I think it's brilliant. So we'll be right back. Hi, Rain. How you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm back. Zandy P says, I'm hearing that Peru village which the aliens attacked are now blocked and surrounded by the Peruvian military. Thank you, Pam. I'll let Dave know. Of course, he knows. He knows everything. Some of the names that you guys come up with are just awesome. Okay. I was just looking up the Peruvian alien. I just typed in Peruvian alien attacks into Google. And even the Jerusalem Post is reporting on it now.
I want to say a big thank you to Pam, Simon, Mexi, and Jenny for the great super chats tonight. Thank you to all our new subscribers and everybody who's clicked that like button. Do me a favor after the show, leave a comment. I want to know what you guys think. Whether it's David Grusch, whether it's Ken Klippenstein, whether it's you're a veteran and you're upset about everything that's going on right now. I want to know. Music Maker fan, how you doing? Good to see you here. Hi, Applesauce. Thanks for dropping on in. 1971 Marmaduke. Thank you for coming on in. And anybody else? No. All right. Here we go, Terry. Stay tuned.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What is it? Quasquicentennial. Quasquicentennial is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from YouTube channel Among the Missing for another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. James Dean's Porsche 500 Spider. It's totally apt that the car James Dean died in was nicknamed Little Bastard. Exactly a week before he passed, Star Wars icon Alec Guinness, who played Obi-Wan Kenobi, had warned James, quote, "Please never get in it. If you get in that car, you'll be found dead in it by this time next week," end quote. Tragically, this came to pass at the intersection of State Route 46 and State Route 42 in California on November 30th, 1955. Dean died of a broken neck, while his friend and mechanic, Rolf Witherich, was thrown from the vehicle. Afterwards, Alec Guinness spoke of the day he had given Dean his warning, saying, quote, "The sports car looked sinister to me," end quote, and that James Dean had simply laughed off his premonition. Bad luck followed the Porsche 500 Spider wherever it went after that, even when parts were sold on their own. A Hollywood car customizer who did the original work on it, George Barris, procured the wreck of the Little Bastard and technically remains the owner of it to this day, wherever the remains of it are now. After Dean's death, the shell of the car went on tour all over the States as an illustration of the dangers of speeding. People thrilled by the macabre reminder of the young star's passing were drawn to it in droves. Despite not being driven, the car caused the deaths of several more people in a series of freak accidents while on show or in transit. The following are verifiable accounts of strange events, deaths, and injuries involving the Porsche 500 Spider. Two doctors, who were also racing drivers, bought the Porsche's engine and drivetrain, respectively, from George Barris and installed them in their own race cars. On October 21st, 1956, One of them died when his car spun out and hit a tree. The other was critically injured in the same race when his vehicle rolled around a corner. Another driver bought 2 tires off the wreck from George Barris. They both burst at once, sending the driver into a ditch. Luckily, he survived. One mechanic's leg was broken when the car slid off a trailer and pinned him. A student had their hip broken when it slipped off its display mounting. A souvenir seeker tried to steal the car's steering wheel while it was on display and ended up with a seriously gashed arm for his attempt to vandalize the little bastard. While on display in California, a strange fire razed the garage it was housed in to the ground, but the car was virtually unscathed, save for 2 melted tires and a bit of singed paint, while everything around it was destroyed. And then 3 separate accidents in 1958 left 2 men dead. 2 were fatal collisions while transporting the wreck, and the third happened when another transport truck's brakes failed and it smashed into the vehicle behind it. In 1959, the wreck simply and bizarrely fell to pieces while on display, so Barris ordered it shipped from Miami to Los Angeles. But it never showed up and has never been seen again, despite a $1 million reward on offer from the Volo Auto Museum in Illinois. The only known piece of James Dean's little bastard is a restored rear passenger door in Barris' possession. Hopefully, wherever the car's remains lie, the spirit is sleeping.
And thank you to Steve Stockton for another great story tonight, as Steve has them each and every day on Among the Missing. Go to youtube.com/Among the Missing, and you can hit subscribe there and hear new stories each and every day. We're going to continue on now with Terry Hall, our guest tonight. He's an SOR insider to everything that's going on that's weird and strange, and a lot of UFO talk that has been happening right through the world. Terry, thank you so much for being back tonight.
Pleasure to be here, boss. Thanks for having me.
I know our radio audience can't see this.
So what do you think about this Peru deal, buddy?
Well, I was just going to make a quick comment here about you got the perfect hair and handlebar mustache combination going on tonight. Good for you.
Well, it's not colored. This is me. Unfortunately. My wife seems to like it though, so hey, after 25 years, I can't be too bad, right?
I hear you there. So we've been talking about Peru lately, and Zandy in our chat room has been eager to hear us talk about what is going on about this alien attack in Peru. So for people who maybe didn't hear us a few nights ago talking about this, apparently it's been happening since mid-July, where these attacks of these 6 to 8 foot creatures that look like manted beings, green manted beings, that were seen stalking on the roofs of these small villages outside of some major cities in Peru. And apparently these attacks go on, and they've been going on for years, but in different communities. This one seemed to get a little ugly with people who were injured, and you saw hundreds of people on video who, if you go on Twitter and type in Peru aliens, that's where you can find the source to a lot of this, where people were running through the forest literally trying to hunt these aliens down. Terry, what's your thoughts on what's going on down there?
Well, it's another one of these things that's because it's where it's at, we just have to go on what we would say hearsay in any court of law. But you have enough of the community members down around, and this is around Alto Nene, Peru. As a matter of fact, it wasn't. The latest reporting states that there was a 15-year-old girl that was actually hospitalized by one of these creatures, non-human intelligences. They're supposed to be about 7 foot tall, according to the descriptions, and they have these red, for lack of a better word, shoes that allow them to float and do other things. I have read stories that the community, and I saw in chat earlier that someone said that these communities are supposed to be surrounded by the military now. I have read reports that the community was the one who actually reached out and asked for the assistance because these attacks have become so frequent. And so, the- I mean, when they're starting to injure people, um, the people in this community have reached out, and it's a direct quote, and it says, "We need support for our community. The children do not sleep, and the mothers stay up all night. We're very frightened about what's happening here in our community. It's not one or two people, and we've heard stories about similar type things, but never anything like this. I mean, I've heard stories down in Peru where the UFOs flew over, and because of a discharge that came off of a ship, or because of the type of energy the ship was using, people got injured from that, but never directly from a being hurting people. What do you think about it, Dave?
Well, there's a bunch of different stories going on here. You know, we know that this was happening near the Nazca lines. Okay, for
Mhm.
people who don't know what the Nazca lines are, was thousands of years ago. There were these lack of a better term, pictures that were drawn out of rocks placed specifically in the ground of everything from animals to planets to even something that looks like a giant alien gray. And there are hundreds of these Nazca lines that are out there. And it was like it was communication to the star beings that may or may not have been visiting during those times.
Oh,
It's
and one
very
thing that you left off about the Nazca lines, Dave, is they're much better seen from altitude, from the air.
yes. Yeah, you can barely make them out on foot and standing on the ground. But if you're in the air in an airplane, you can see them and they're
Yep.
clear as day. And they are still finding them today,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
But this is an area that is,
Yes.
along with Brazil, that is claimed to have in these small types of communities, aliens come in and land and really start to bully around the local populations of these small communities. And they tend to hide in the jungles. This one that happened earlier this week where there was video of it standing on the rooftop, they believed it was between 7 and 8 feet tall. And the one video that was caught when the light shined on it, it looked like what we would call a mantid being, which is
Yep.
which is like a praying
Big,
mantis type
huge
head
eyes.
on it with a pointy snout on it. So it's
And the
scary.
great big eyes. Yeah.
Ew, those eyes, you're right. I mean, it's scary to think that this is potentially going on. Now, could somebody be hoaxing this? Of course, somebody could. We don't know. We don't know. But there is other videos out there, apparently one from 2018, where there's a tall gray walking through the jungle that was allegedly caught by one of these small towns. I mean, it's hard to understand what is actually going on there and whether or not those small villages are being attacked by some sort of extraterrestrial species, Terry.
Well, they have coined the term, and they're calling these things. Oh, what was it? Los Pelicares. Los Pelicares. It means face peeler, and that goes back to another video that was on Twitter. Did you see that one, Dave?
There was a number of them on video.
This one was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a couple of police officers carrying someone who was very obviously dead, but from here up through his
Yeah.
scalp was just peeled off.
And you know what? I'm not sure. I've heard reports that that video may be faked. Okay. And we have to have a level of skepticism here. Okay. But if that video of the body being carried away with the man's face peeled off, if let's say that is real, because there's no eyeballs, there's no lips, there's no nose, it's straight down to the skeleton. Okay. If that is
Yeah.
real, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is real, the lines on that are eerily similar to what we hear in these human and cattle mutilations that are allegedly going on with extraterrestrials.
That's what kind of caught me about it too. It wasn't what you would think it would look like if someone removed just skin. It was the tissue all the way down to clean, basically white bone. So when I saw that, I was thinking, well, that could be one of those old cartel things or something, until I actually really looked at it, and it wasn't gruesome. It was white bone. So,
Which leads me to
yeah.
believe that it may be a setup or a movie prop or something along those lines. Okay, and like I said, that video where you know there's reports that it may not even be tied to this incident, that it may be
Yeah.
something else or whatever. But either way, it lines up with the timeline, and we're putting it out there. Not saying we believe it's true. Not saying we believe that video is true at all. But if it is true, it is very intriguing to say the least. And one of the things that I'm looking at with this situation is, why are these extraterrestrials, if they are there, why when they enter South America, whether it's Brazil or Peru, do they seem to be a little bit more violent towards humans than what we see or hear of reports of people having encounters in North America, Terry? That's something that I find very interesting.
I think it boils down to we really don't have secluded areas, quote unquote, in America anymore. There are certain places where we still go where you don't have cell phone reception, but they're few and far between. So anything that happens in America, even in a community like mine, I live in a community that's so small we don't even have a police department. We don't, matter of fact, Dave, we don't even have a light in our town. We have a gas station. We don't even have a stoplight in our town, right? It's just, and you're gone. But if something happened here, I guarantee you I could get a hold of the news in Portland and they'd be here in a heartbeat. That doesn't happen in these very secluded areas. So, how long, like you said, this is supposed to have been happening since June or July, right?
July.
We're just now hearing about it. It took that long for us to even get the first trickle of information about what's been going on down there. I think that's what it is.
Well, and that could very well be. It might be a different type of information. I mean, not having somebody boots on the ground there, it's very difficult to see whether it's whatever is going on is real or not. It's very difficult. And
Well, that and you can't FOIA the Peruvian police department either.
that's very true. Okay, so it is a strange story. It is something that I'm keeping an eye on because it intrigues me. I mean, the first reports of this coming out were just like the movie from M. Night Shyamalan in the movie Signs. It was scary that way. And it really made me wonder, is there something a little bit more nefarious going on? But then again, we're not hearing those type of reports out of North America. We're just not. And you look at what happened in Varginha, Brazil, from the James Fox documentary series. that he put out, or documentary video that he put out on Virginia.
Virginia, yeah.
Why is this happening in those South American countries? Is there something that we're missing? Is it something that we're blaming on aliens that really isn't them, but maybe people who are dressed up trying to camouflage themselves to scare villagers? We don't know,
Dave,
right?
Really, South America is really, honestly, the last bastion besides, the North Pole and the South Pole. We have truly remote places like that anymore. The rest of the world, I mean, maybe in the middle of Australia, but it's so hot there that people don't go there. Why would aliens go there? But in South America, there's tribes in the Amazon that we haven't even discovered yet, who have been living the same way for thousands and thousands of years, and it's only in that part of the world.
Yeah. That's what's not making sense to me. That's why I'm wondering what is causing something to be so nefarious at this particular area. We don't hear it happening in Africa. We don't hear it happening in North America or Europe or Australia or Asia. It just seems to happen out of South America. And trust me, I will tell you this, the woo side of me wants this to be real, man. Totally wants this to be real. And if I could, I would jump on a plane right now and fly down there. Just like a bunch of other mercenaries that have probably done that.
Oh man, I've been chomping at the bit myself, really. I'm
Oh,
almost getting to the point to where I'm getting too old to go do something stupid and crazy like that, but I haven't reached that point yet.
well, I mean, there's a number of plausible explanations for this outside of aliens. Okay, it could be cartels. It could be shadow governments that have their own military that are, maybe trying to so-called clean up an area, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It may be a number of things that, us UFO paranoid, may look at something like this and say, oh no, it's aliens. It's aliens. When in the meantime, it's not. It's a bunch of people in camouflage.
Have to be pretty good. And that kind of goes down to it being a remote area as well. If you've got like really high level special effects, like take for instance, what was it? Well, the movie Underworld with the vampires and the werewolves. The werewolves, that was actual that wasn't CGI, that was stage makeup. And you drop something like that in the middle of Peru, and I guarantee you somebody's going to shoot something at it. And that's the thing that makes me wonder about if it is just stage makeup. The reports coming out of Peru say that the villagers actually fired upon these things and it had no effect. I've worn body armor. I mean, dude, we go play paintball. Those things hurt. I can't imagine what it would be like getting shot, like for real. I mean, I have been shot for real, but not like that.
Terry, I'm going to get you to hold on. Joining us tonight is Terry Hall, our SOR insider, talking everything ufology tonight. We're going to continue with audience questions and more when we return for the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned, everybody. It's going to be good. All right, this final half hour, we're going to need a bunch of audience questions. Wherever you guys want to take it, that's where Terry and I are going. Just please do me a favor, put them in capital letters. If you can, it's easier for me to read. What do you say there, Terrence?
Oh, I was just kind of watching the chat. You know, the other night when we had Science Bob on, Bob covered a few things. One of them was holograms and how how far they've been developed. And you know those Peruvian things, at least the ones that aren't touching people, it could be holograms too. You know, Uh, are we seeing a ramp up, Dave? Like Werner von Braun said was going to happen. Are we seeing a ramp up enough to make a false flag out of this? I mean, the Space Force has got carte blanche over a lot of stuff that if something came from another world, um, the Space Force isn't the joke that people keep making out of it. If something came from out there, guys, we'd be run by the Space Force. And I think that includes Canada too, Dave.
Well, of course it does. Of course it does.
You know, Grant's always said, and I think the reason why not so many people are turning to get Canada's opinion, Dave, is Grant's always said that if you ask anybody in Canada what's going on with UFOs, it was like they just don't talk about it. The government doesn't. That's why it was such a stunner when Paul Hellyer came out and said, you know, what he said, because generally Canadians don't. Canadian government just that's not a subject that's public,
Mm-hmm.
according to Granton. I mean, you're sitting at the woo desk, right? How
Trying
often do you hear your own government say UFO or anything even close to it?
Very true. Very,
Getting
very
that kind of getting that kind of vocabulary just in Congress, just for them to say the words is just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Makes me wish Stanton Freeman was still alive so he could see this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, where is Stanton Friedman when you need him? No offense. God bless the man.
Yeah, buddy.
Hi, Anna. How are you?
James Weston. James, look up Carol Rosen. She was Werner von Braun's personal assistant. And she tells a pretty good story about the false flag and what he said about it. Joe, you're a bad person, Joe. Excuse me for a minute, boss.
Yep. The old Peru aliens. What do you do? Good question, Lex. Hope you guys have had fun tonight.
I think it's boiling more down, Dave, to where with the equipment that you can buy off the shelf anymore, if you're a nuts and bolts kind of person trying to see these things, there's so many things that the public has access to now, that make it easy for us to I mean,
Terry,
you can
hold on.
take.
Terry,
Nope,
hold
go
on.
ahead.
Thank you tonight to Pam, Simon, Mexi, and Jenny for the incredible super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you for the love. Here we go with the final half hour, everyone. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for tuning us in. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate each and every one of you and your listening ears. Reminder that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue the UFO talk tonight with our good friend from Spaced Out Radio in the background. We call him Terry Hall around here. He is our insider looking into all this information. And we got some questions from the audience here, Terry. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, boss. I'm just glad you're back.
Me too. Me too. I love being on the air. Love being on the air talking about these topics. We say hello in our chat room to our good friend Random Guy, where I happen to have my Random Guy t-shirt on tonight. Look at it. Look at that. That guy's got aliens.
RG is in the house tonight.
Yeah, he's got aliens, people. He's got aliens. All right. Max wants to know, when is the next Senate hearing of UFOs?
That's a good question, man. If something like David Gross pops up tomorrow, it could be day after tomorrow. It's just touch and go right now, really.
I'm hearing it could be some as early as late September, maybe into October, November, maybe. Nothing through December or January. So if we don't have one by the end of November, we're going to have to wait until 2024 for the next one to come up. So
Well, they're going to get one more in before the budgets are written. I'll guarantee you that much.
Likely, very likely. But that's just my opinion on it. Let's move on to Scott here. More on 0 point energy. What do you want to know, Scott? Do we have it? I personally believe we do have it. It's probably hidden in certain facilities that are not supposed to exist.
Terry? And it was 1954 was the last real big push that we saw as the public about things like electrogravitics and 0 point energy. According to some people, people like T. Townsend Brown cracked that way back when, and they've had it in underground facilities and keeping it away from us to keep the petrodollar afloat for 70, 80 years now, right?
Well,
they say that there's enough energy in this cup right here to boil off the world's oceans if they could ever figure it out. That's a lot of juice. Well, why? Okay, bringing up 0 point energy. Why do you think certain people in the UFO field have trotted this out a couple of times, saying, "I've held it in my hand. I'll bring it out. Just send me money." Do you think it's because this is being turned by some people into a cottage industry, Dave?
Absolutely. Now, that's not saying whether or not the U.S. government or the private companies that work for defense, and defense contractors don't have it. We can only assume. But if they do, they're not going to release it. They're not going to release it to the benefit of the public. It would kill the economy. Zero point energy, it would kill the gas and oil industry, which is going to put across North America alone at minimum of 300,000 to 400,000 people out of a job. How do you replace instantaneous almost 500,000 jobs?
How do you think Dubai got built?
Absolutely. And many more. So how is it going to affect the economy? That's number one. Let's move over to Lex. Is this Peru activity the malevolent actions David Grusch spoke of from NHI towards human victims? Terry, I'll let you answer that first.
Ooh, that's a good question. He wasn't really specific enough to point towards this, but I do believe myself that that's some of the things that he was pointing towards was this type of actions. What do you think, Dave?
I think David Grusch, when he was speaking of malevolent actions, I don't think he was talking about extraterrestrials. I think he was talking about malevolent actions from people within his own government, people within his own area of expertise in the intelligence community, the alphabet agencies, many of which do not want this type of stuff to come out. Now, have there been instances where non-human intelligence has maybe slapped a few humans across the face? Probably has been. Okay, we hear it in a lot of experiencers in the nightmares that they go through.
Yeah.
But I don't think Grusch is an alien experiencer. He may be a UFO experiencer, but I don't think he's an alien experiencer. I think when he was talking about malevolent actions, he was talking about his own government agencies, because that's what he says he's living right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, unfortunately, that's sad but true.
That's my opinion of it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's just my opinion.
Do you think the whole whistleblower thing is going to change if they ever finish writing the law and getting it passed?
No. I don't. You got to realize there are not many people who actually want true disclosure. Yes, there are the loudmouths of Tim Burchett or Marco Rubio or Christian Gillibrand or a few others who would like to know what's going on. Okay? But true disclosure opens up a can of worms, a Pandora's box, so to speak.
What's true disclosure to you, Dave?
We need to know everything, from whether or not Lazar worked at Area 51, whether or not Eisenhower traded humans for aliens, what happened at Roswell. Okay. We need to know about, the Holloman Air Force Base video. We need to know about the Phoenix Lights. We need to know what these UFOs look like. Okay. If we have possession of them, what do they look like? If we have alien bodies or non-human intelligence bodies, the pilots that David Grusch talked about, let's see them. That is disclosure. But my personal opinion is twofold. Number one, the military-industrial complex is way too powerful in order to get true disclosure. That is why I have said for the better part of 2 years now, we are in a confirmation movement.
Right.
Because the minute the U.S. goes to disclosure, what happens? And this may be a hypothetical question, and I've asked it many a times on this show. What happens, Terry, if you find out that your name, Terry Hall, is on a list of people who the American government knows has been abducted, and they've been tracking you? The government has been following you. You don't know this, okay, but your phones are tapped, okay? There's cameras on your house, okay? Much like Chris Bledsoe.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to live that life and you don't know it all?
I got a little bit of a taste of that a few months ago. And I'll be real honest with you, it's really, really uncomfortable. It's not something that I would, you know, I don't even think I would want somebody that I didn't like to have to go through that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, it brings it back to the point. Are they doing this to discourage other people from coming forward? I believe it's yes.
Well, I mean, there are scary things that are happening in this field. I remember one source telling me point blank, this little show, okay? Yes, we're on 8 radio stations. And I love our radio stations, by the way. Thank you for carrying this show. Okay. But this little show, we don't have the biggest YouTube audience. We only got about 23,300 subscribers. We're bigger than the majority, but still very light compared to others for subscribership and viewership. We're growing, though. We're trending. This little show, though, I have heard from 2 different insiders that there are people within the alphabet agencies who are continually listening to this show. In fact, I know that at times there have been 3 members of the NSA in our chat room. And I know who 2 of them are.
The proof is in the pudding, Dave, that the first time that Science Bob, when he had his rant, I heard that was discussed in Congress. That your show has actually been brought up on the floor. So
that I don't know.
I do. Know. I've been told. I've been told by somebody who was there. And so I'm seconding your motion. I truly believe that because Dave, I think I believe that you are monitored on occasion for the simple reason that you do report things down the middle. You don't take the right or the left. It's you're Joe Friday, just the facts, man. Here you go. You make up your own mind about this stuff. And that's how I believe that's how it should be. When we go out on research trips, that's how we try to gather evidence. We don't try to put any spin on it. We just try to gather what we get and say, here, what do you make of this? So
it could very well be. It could very well be. Somewhere out there, random guy is laughing at us right now. Because I know
he is.
I know he's hanging out with an NSA guy tonight. So. Yeah, it's that time of the night. Hold on a second here, where we say hello, how are you to all the agencies and agents tuning us in to Spaced Out Radio tonight. We thank you. Give us a call sometime. And don't forget, you don't need our phone number because you already have it. And some of us can be bought. Some of us can.
Tim and I have gone back and forth a couple of times. And I asked him once, I said, hey, Tim, if a UFO landed, would you get on? Right? And he said, oh, absolutely. And I said, well, that's the funny part. You're the guy that's been in the movies, but I'd be the guy running the video camera saying, nope, not going to do it. Nope.
You're sounding very Merle-like there. Sounding very Merle-like.
Well, you know what? That's Merle's job, though. Merle pushes you. You know, take him.
You
Take
wait
him.
till
I'll just
you
let
wait till
everybody know what happened.
you just wait till you're out in the field with Merle one day, and all of a sudden you hear Merle's famous nope, 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 nope. Oh, it's pretty funny. It
You
is
know, I
pretty
do love the
funny.
community that I do love the community that's here that that you built over 8 years. Um, you're greatly appreciated, Dave. You really are.
Well, we got
And
5.5 minutes before we got to say goodnight. Let's get to a few more audience questions here. Joe
okay,
makes a comment. I don't care about the personalities of the UFO community. I care about the UFOs and where the hell they are from. It's because Joe's got aliens. He doesn't like to admit he's got aliens, but he's got aliens. But he is right. The majority of people who are listening to this who have had an extraordinary experience, they don't care about the government. They don't care about the bickering, the arguing, the who said what, who did what to who. They don't care about that. They don't care about the conferences and those who are trying to steal the spotlight, so we could say. They just want to know what happened to them. And that is the one question that we continually forget about is there is a population in this world that have gone through extraordinary experiences, and whether or not at least one time in their life they've cried about it.
yeah.
Okay. And they just want to know what happened to them. Why are they waking up with strange marks on their body? Why are they waking up with sore joints that have never hurt before? Why are they waking up with these nightmarish faces that they can't get rid of from their mind of alien grays or reptilians or what have you? Why are they waking up on the bed, and or why are some people afraid to sleep in the dark anymore? And yet they're 60, 70 years old.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions out there regarding that. Okay. Why are they blanking our minds? Why do they keep taking us without our permission? Or did we give them permission back through the Akashic records or something like that? We don't know. We don't know. But he's right. Joe in our audience is right. The majority of
Well,
this crap that we are covering shouldn't be the topic.
that's even a contention in the field, Dave. Whether they're all friendly or whether they're not all friendly. You know, anything that you can contend. Just like I said earlier, there's always one person in the crowd that thinks it's cool to say no. That's not going to work. No, that's not it. No, that didn't happen. It's just how it is. And I don't know if it's like that in more communities than ours, but it's it's very forward in our community.
Very forward. I think that's a healthy way to put it. Let's go to Scott. Where's their craft? Well,
Hangar 18.
we don't know where their crafts are. I don't think their craft are anywhere on any military base. I really don't. I think their craft are in the hands of private corporations. They may have once, like if you believe the Bob Lazar story, they may have at one point been gathered in a secret location at Area 51. They may not have been. What we do know, and the only thing that we know, is if David Grusch is telling the truth, there's 8 or more of these craft, maybe 9, maybe 10 or more of these craft or craft pieces that are in the hands of the government the alphabet agencies, their scientists, and maybe some university professors, and definitely in the hands of private corporations who are void of FOIA requests.
Yeah. That's one thing that David, that the testimony of these guys is making fairly prevalent, is just how widespread this is and how many different people get read into this kind of stuff. Um, uh, and turning it over to civilians, like you said, they're FOIA exempt. It's not like you're going to get the president of Lockheed to go sit down in Congress. I mean, NASA opted out of going. I didn't know that you could opt out of going to a congressional hearing, but they just said, nope, not going to do it. You know, I didn't think, I never thought that I would see in my lifetime somebody to be able to just tell Congress no.
Hard to believe, isn't it? Hard to believe. Well, Terry, it's another night of mystery. It's another night of trying to figure out what is going on, and we'll leave the audience tonight with more questions and answers, because
Like we always do.
the answers seem much harder than what they actually are. Isn't that truth?
Very. But you know what? That's half the problem. That's half the question already solved, is being able to put it to a question. Once you can put it to a question, the only problem you have is finding the answer.
That is very sage words, my friend. We're going to say that was a comment, from your very, very classic mustache. Because when the mustache speaks, people listen. Terry Hall, SOR insider into everything weird and strange. And we want to say a big thank you to Bruce Claggett from BFC Communications joining us in hour number 1, talking real journalism and what we are doing right and wrong in the UFO community. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yeah, we got room for them too. Good night. All right, we're clear, brother.
Okay, now that we're done with the radio stuff, you guys out there, tickle Dave's like thingy and do like your parents taught you and share, share, share. Quit being so selfish and keeping this to yourself. You selfish, selfish people, you.
Yeah, be like Terry. Be like Terry. Ring that bell.
Well, guys, I got to run. I got to work mañana.
All right, buddy.
It's my weekend next week, tomorrow. So thanks for having me, boss. I'm so glad you're back. Thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate everybody, and I love you all. And I will talk at you. I'll talk at you, Dave, tomorrow. I'll talk at y'all the next time. Ciao for now.
Thanks, Terry. You did great tonight. Terry Hall, everybody. Oh, Not Siri. That scared me. I said Terry, not Siri. Yeah, go away. Go away. That scared me. I actually jumped. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see where we stand here. Right there. Hold on. Bring you guys up here momentarily. This is we go. All right, I'm ready for you now. I want to see an elephant, Dave. Well, all right. See if we can find an elephant for you. It's weird. I haven't looked at the African channels in so long. They're not even on my feed anymore. Still got it going. All right. Where's that one that always has the elephants? It's not Kalahari. Kalahari is always boring. Nothing ever in Kalahari. What the hell's it called? That's old Donio. See what's happening here in Kenya. We got zebras and a giraffe. Hold on. There you go. Got some zebras. No, I liked watching the Hoof GP out of Scotland. He goes around fixing cows' feet. I don't know why. What did Jenny say? Give me a few. I got to get this editing done first, Jen. Yeah, I haven't had Michael Salla in a long time. That's actually a good idea. I'll pass that on to my booking crew. You're welcome, Shelly. Random guy still here? Thanks, Lex Diaz. Well, there we have some Oryx coming in. I know where there's some elephants. Let's get out of here for a second. Let's try Rosie's pan first. I like Rosie's pan. This was always my favorite. Oh, look at that. Look what's at Rosie's pan today. There's an elephant. Oh, don't leave too quick. Oh, that was cool. Hmm. Hey, where are you going? Get back here. I accept to reject the narrative. How you doing, man? Oh, look at that guy. Nice Jaguar. Let's go see what else is out there. Oh, still them. Park. There we go. Go to Tembe. There's some elephants. Oh, look at the baby. Look at how they all run over to make sure baby's okay. Baby's like, I just want to play. Big Daddy's coming in there. Get out of here. Where'd that go? Where'd that go? There it is. Hey, you guys enjoy the elephants. I'll be right back. Oh, you guys scared off all the elephants or what? Why'd you go and do that? Why'd you go and do that? Scare off all the elephants. See if we can find something else here. Usually some elephants around there. No, just a bunch of bored oryx. Oh well. You got me instead. Susie B! How are you? That and no, I've never had Timothy Alberino on. Who is he? Who is J-Rod in the UFO myth? Alleged alien that lived at Area 51. May have been from the survivor of the Roswell crash. I don't have any cameras to donate, Skip to Malou. I use one camera. Don't make eye contact, Black Dragon. Don't do it. Don't do it, my man. No, it's because I'm uploading audio to send to our radio stations. That's why it's all blurry right now. And I'm downloading the episodes and changing them into MP3 format. That's why each and every night at this time it gets like this. Hello, Diane. How are you? Thurston Howell III. Nice to see you. All right. No Jessica Jones this weekend. She's off traveling to Montauk. But we will have Marquise back for Saturday and Sunday night. Big thank you to Jenny, Mexi, Simon, and Pam, and Cat Chaser for the great super chats. Very much appreciate the love. There's Cat Chaser right there. And a big thank you to all of you. We will see you all on Monday when my guest will be Katie Page, talking inside UFOs. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.